We have a special one today. Lewis Hamilton finally gets that win that he's been looking for oh so long. I think it was either 54 or 56 races since his last had a victory. So this is absolutely huge. Congratulations, Lewis Hamilton. Congratulations to the Mercedes team overall. What a day. What a day for the team, for Lewis Hamilton. A home race. We've had two great home race victories so far this year. The first being, of course, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. So congratulations to him. We have a lot to talk about. It was a pretty entertaining race. I must say that it was a pretty entertaining race. So without further ado, let us hop into it right away. Now, as we know, the race itself ended with quite some interesting. We had quite some interesting finishes. In first place, of course, we had Lewis Hamilton, who also, by the way, set the record for most race wins at a single circuit, beating out Michael Schumacher, who he was tied with 8 race wins at a single circuit. And now, this victory gives him his 9th race win at Silverstone. So another record broken, his 104th career victory. So good job, Lewis Hamilton. Great job. I'm sure the fans were happy. I know Victor was happy. A great race all around. In second position, we had Max Verstappen. Now, Max clearly was not having the best race. This car didn't seem too well suited. It didn't seem to be enjoying that circuit at Silverstone too much, if I'm being completely honest. We thought the pace wasn't there. The only reason that Max was even so close was due to some pit stop screw ups by other teams, and due to the fact that they just straight up got they were pacey at the end. You know, they called it perfectly. Their strategy was great. They came in just at the right time for the intermediates. They switched to the hard tires right at the right time. The only issue, in my opinion, was that those hard tires needed a couple more laps, maybe 2, 3, max 4 more laps. Those hard tires would have definitely taken and overtaken the soft tires that Lewis Hamilton was on. But Max seemed pretty chill after the race. He didn't seem like he minded that second place finish. I'm sure he would have liked to win the race, obviously, and I personally would have loved to see the battle between those two drivers at the end. I was hoping it would come down to a final lap showdown, as we saw in 2021. It wasn't meant to happen. Now, this might be a bit of an unpopular opinion. Everybody enjoyed the race. They thought it was crazy. I thought it was relatively boring compared to the ending that we had in Austria. Now, of course, it's unfortunate those two drivers in Austria made contact, so Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. But the racing that we saw between those two drivers, we haven't seen, I think, to be honest, for a race win since like 2022 between Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. So it was some great racing back and forth, similar pace of the cars, different strategies. This race, it was more tentative. Everybody's waiting to see when they should pit for the intermediates, if they should pit, if they should stay out. So everybody was more cautious. It wasn't in my opinion quite as interesting a finish as we saw in Austria. But again, that's just my opinion. It's totally fine if you don't have the same opinion. That's why it's an opinion, right? In third position, we had Lando Norris, who unfortunately I'm sure would have liked more. I don't know how it happens. I know he went for it in the first lap. The pace of that McLaren wasn't quite as good as it was in Austria. I think that obviously Mercedes were a very pacey car. They came out of nowhere with the pace this weekend, and they were pacey last weekend too. It's just that, yeah, they got the race win. Everybody was talking about how McLaren won the race and how they basically deserved it. But the problem there was that we didn't get to see them win the race on pure race pace alone. This weekend they had a pole position and a clean pole, so front row lockup. It's not like one of the drivers got lucky with a great time. That car was genuinely quick enough to get into the front row and lock up the front row. So there was no question that it was rapid there at Silverstone. The temperatures were in their favor. Yeah, we'll touch back on Mercedes in a second. But as for Lando Norris and McLaren, he messed up a little bit in qualifying on his final run, and that definitely hindered his start. Now, if you watched my short on betting on the Grand Prix, It didn't hit, just solely due to Russell, who had had to retire the car due to the water cooling issue. I'm not sure what that was, but that's quite unfortunate. But the idea is that we were able to essentially predict. So I thought the top three. I wasn't sure who would be the last driver, but I thought for sure that Max Verstappen and Lando Norris would be there. And then the top six, I had Lewis Hamilton and George Russell because I generally didn't know the race pace of those cars. Like I said last weekend, they were quick, but they weren't lock out the front grid quick. You know, it wasn't what we saw yesterday in qualifying. So I was a bit hesitant and tentative to actually say yes, top three for those drivers. So I put both of them in the top six, which I still think was a good decision. I mean, it's unfortunate that Russell had to retire the car. And of course, that happens in the world of Formula One. You know, I'm not going to get down or kick myself over it because ideally they would have finished in the top six, and it happens, right? That's why you should never bet more than you're willing to lose because it is uncertain. And the other two were Oscar Piastri and Carlos Sainz to finish within the top 10. And we could have even made that riskier and gone both of those drivers to finish within the top six because they did finish within the top six. So overall, I think that was a solid parlay. Just unfortunate that that Russell wasn't able to capitalize on the race pace that they had this weekend. And that's unfortunate. But McLaren, I think they slotted in wonderfully, third, fourth. They always get quite lucky to the fact that Perez is nowhere. He's nowhere close to Verstappen, and that's actually something I think we can touch on now because it's just that important. Last 5 races, I think Perez has been on a different planet. You know, he seems like he shouldn't even be in F1. And I've been seeing reports online. I don't know how accurate this is. I can't say for sure that it's true or that it's not true. There have been reports that there are clauses in Perez's contract that if he is not within 100 points of Max Verstappen by the Belgian Grand Prix, he is out of that seat. Okay, and that's wild because right now I think he's 137 points behind Max Verstappen. So how many more races do we have to the Belgian Grand Prix? 2, right? We have the Hungarian Grand Prix, and then the Belgium. We're at Spa. That means that Max has to DNF essentially, and Perez has to get 37 points when the maximum is 26 if he sets the fastest lap. Something's not adding up. So are we about to see Sergio Perez out of a seat? Surely that's crazy when he just signed another 2-year deal back before the Canadian Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken. So this is definitely something that I want to see how it plays out. Again, rumors, Daniel Ricciardo's going to be in the car. We've heard that before. There's like 4 or 5 drivers that Red Bull are always saying could go in the car, and all of them truly do deserve a chance. I personally am leaning more towards the younger drivers. I'd love to see Lawson in this car. I'd love to see Yuki in a competitive car. I'd love to see even Hadjar in a competitive car. So there's some other drivers that I would love to see in a car before they return to Daniel Ricciardo. But I must admit that Daniel Ricciardo has been getting solid results lately for the most part, so I can't fault it too much. I would see the idea of having that experience there. But as for Red Bull, they definitely need to do something about Perez because I don't think they want to continue like this. You know, it's not good for the team. It's not good for him. They keep coming out. Helmut Marko and Christian Horner both keep saying that right now it's basically McLaren has 2 cars. All of a sudden, Mercedes has 2 cars fighting. Ferrari, in theory, has 2 cars. We'll get there in a second. And Red Bull have 1 car. They have Max Verstappen carrying that team, and he's carrying it fine. He's like a robot. I mean, he does not make mistakes. But how long? At some point, something has to give, because if the other teams dial it in, then it's not going to be that easy, right? It's not going to be that easy for Max to just carry Red Bull for an eternity. So they need a second driver that at least gets the car into the point, that at least is fighting for something. This weekend, Sergio Perez in a Red Bull, finished in P17 in a race where there were 2 cars that did not finish. So he was the second last driver. Okay, the second last driver, and he was 2 laps behind the leader of the race. And right behind the leader of the race was his teammate, Max Verstappen, who was 1 second behind the leader of the race. So why is Sergio Perez 2 entire laps behind his teammate? It makes absolutely no sense. It baffles me that he still has a drive. But Again, maybe Red Bull sees something. I understand the sponsors. I understand all of that. Money talks, yes. But at some point, sorry, other drivers have money too. Other drivers can bring in sponsors. What's the difference right now between Sergio Perez and Logan Sargent? Logan Sargent beat Sergio Perez today. Logan Sargent finished ahead of Sergio Perez. Now, if that isn't absolutely wild, I mean, Logan Sargent had a great race actually. Now checking the standings, he finished in P11, so he was quite close to the points. He also beat Charles Leclerc, but we're not going to talk about that. I digress. Completely went away from it. The McLaren boys, they did their thing. Lando let Max pass today towards the end. I don't think he was looking for a fight. He probably knew that Max had more pace. Didn't want to hinder him from the battle going on in front. Again, Lando Norris just needs to find that next step, that next year. He is close. He is very close. But it needs to get just a little bit better. Just a little bit better for him to be actually competing for those race victories right at the end. He's close. He's close. And I think he's going to take that step. The car has the pace. Maybe this wasn't the best track for them, but they weren't far off. So, it was okay. It was okay. So both of the McLarens did great. Oscar Piastri got the short end of the stick because I think McLaren didn't want to double stack their cars, which they chose, rightfully so, to bring in Norris, if this was their choice, right? They chose to bring in Norris so that he would get the first pit stop, although he had a slow pit stop. I think it was close to 4 or 5 seconds. I don't remember exactly. And then they decided to leave Piastri out for another lap before bringing him in, which cost him, I think, close to 24 seconds. 24 seconds. And he finished the race 12 seconds behind the leader. Now, this isn't to say that Piastri would have definitely won the race or anything like that, but his race was destroyed, completely ruined by the fact that he was not able to, have a shot. He wasn't able to come in when the other drivers came in. He just wasn't able to do that. And that's quite unfortunate because he showed a great battle today. He was there. He was quick. He's solid. It's hard to believe still that he's a second-year driver because he drives like an all-star. He's driving like an all-star, which is what we like to see, what we're going to continue to see hopefully as we go on. He'll just keep getting better. He's calm, he's poised, he's collected. Everything you want from a driver. So it is looking good. Future is bright at McLaren. They just have to keep doing their thing. They are rapid. Next up in 5th position, Carlos Sainz, Ferrari, one of the Ferrari boys, because the other Ferrari boy is out of the points completely. Ferrari have done something, and they have done something terribly wrong. I do not know what they did. I don't know how they thought they're going in the right direction, because they were up here, they're down here now. Instead of going up like the other teams, they are doing this. Little math skills. It baffles me. It baffles me how they are capable. What the hell was that strategy today? Okay? Why, oh why, did Charles Leclerc have so many pit stops? So many pit stops compared to the other drivers. Why did they think he needs to go for intermediates? The race, the session yesterday, the mistakes, it's not working. It feels like Charles Leclerc has mentally logged out after winning in Monaco. And I get it. I would too. Huge win. Great. You're at home. But what is Ferrari doing? The strategies aren't there. The pace isn't there. I have no clue. They have to fix this as soon as possible, because I want to go to Monaco and cheer for Charles Leclerc on the podium. I want him to get P1, Carlos Sainz P2. He's not even in the points right now. So it's not going well. Something needs to be done. They need to get better. They need to fix whatever issues. Take the upgrades off the car if they're not working. If they were better before the upgrades, take the upgrades off. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. I'm not the strategist, but clearly their strategists aren't doing anything right. I mean, what's the point of a strategist if they're going to call the strategy wrong every time? Right? I generally have to make a CV and start applying to these teams, because if it's this easy to become a strategist where you generally don't need to know anything, yeah, I'm all for it. I get it. I get you risk, you hope to get some reward, but again, use your eyes. Look around you. You can see if it's raining. If there's no rain, why are you sending him out on intermediates just to switch to the mediums, just to switch back to the intermediates? It 2 extra pit stops. At one point, he was like 50 seconds behind Bottas in the Sauber. Kick Sauber has 0 points, and Charles Leclerc is 50 seconds behind them. I don't understand. I genuinely don't understand. They should not be in that position. They should easily be. I'm not even gonna say false. They should be top 6 every single race. Every single race, considering where they started the season and the talent that they have on that team. There should be no. I don't want to see that meme with the clowns on the pit wall. I get it. The truth. There is so much truth to that picture that it genuinely hurts. Ferrari are not doing something right. Carlos Sainz had the most. I didn't even know he was racing out there. And they started well. You know, Leclerc made up some places at the beginning. I mean, he started in P11 and he was up to like P7. Sure, he was stuck behind the Aston Martin for a while, and I was cursing that I can't believe that we've come to now be fighting against the Aston Martins. You know, we're not fighting against Red Bull anymore. We're hoping to pass Lance Stroll with DRS. But I digress. It's okay. Aston Martin's making a fast car. Haas, Nico Hulkenberg is in 6th. Nico Hulkenberg is finishing the race in 6th position. That's 2 races in a row where Leclerc can't get into the points and Nico Hulkenberg's lighting it up. Does it make any sense to anybody? Absolutely not. They need to do something. They need to figure it out. Hopefully before the summer break, because like I said, I want to see them light it up in Monza. I don't want to see them out of the points. Like, need to be better, Ferrari. If you're watching this, if you're one of the 2 people that are watching this, maybe you're a strategist over at Ferrari. I'll send this video your way. Hit me up. We can cook up a strategy together, you know. Pit on lap 1. You like the crazy strategies. I don't know. If everybody's going hards, you go mediums. Don't worry about everything else. Basically, to be a strategist at Ferrari, see what everybody else is doing and do the exact opposite and see if it works 2 out of every 37 times. No more than that. 2 out of every 37 times. If it works, you're a strategist at Ferrari. My CB, I'll get that to you guys. No stress. But, like I said, Nico Hulkenberg. Wow. Ferrari engine. Hey, it's possible. The Haas, though. The Haas with the Ferrari engine is making headlines. Quick qualifying, quick races, beating both Aston Martins on pure pace alone. And let's not forget that we have an all-star, an absolute dominant driver at Aston Martin. You know him, Lance Stroll, right? Dominant. And Alonso's there too. But Lance Stroll carries that team. And Nico Hulkenberg is putting them to shame. Locked in. Nico Hulkenberg is locked in. This is his year. He got that new Audi contract next year. No stress. He's just chilling out there. He's putting in the work, putting in the times. He's outperforming his teammate now consistently. Magnussen's like his bodyguard. He's out there roughing people up that come close to him. This is it. This is his season. I would love to see him on the podium. If he manages to get a podium in that Haas, I give up. But he deserves the podium. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think that car deserves the podium when there are so many other good cars on the grid. But hey, nothing would shock me now. Maybe Ferrari does a master plan. Master plan Ferrari. Next up, we have the 2 Aston Martin cars. I don't know what to say about them. Maybe they're getting Adrian Newey. You know, that's all the hype lately. If they get Adrian Newey, we're cooked. Yeah, I would go to Aston if I was Adrian Newey. Blank check. I'd tell Lawrence Stroll, send over that blank check. I'll write some numbers. I'll come make you a car. Ooh, watch Lance Stroll become a world champion if Adrian Newey goes over. Give him 3 years. 4 years maybe, because the new regulations kicked, then they need a couple years. Lance Stroll, F1 champion, 2028. You heard it here for the first time. Lance Stroll's got it. You know, because we're not betting on Alonso. He'll be retired by then. But Lance Stroll is about to hit his peak, year 13 or whatever, how many years he's in the league, and he will cook. Lance Stroll will cook. You heard it here first. To round out the points, we then had Alex Albon, in the Williams, who apparently, according to Logan Sargent, had some debris fly off at the beginning. Good race overall. 2 solid points for the team. He'll be happy with that. Yuki Tsunoda in the Racing Bull. More points for the team. Everybody's happy. Everybody's getting points, except the Ferraris. But everybody's happy. Everybody's getting points. Logan Sargent killing it. Whew, he's making a case for his seat next year. Solid 11th place finish. He's one of the only drivers that probably gets hyped when he's in 11th. I'd be hyped too. Don't get me wrong. But, hey, 2025, Logan Sargent IndyCar, that's his year. If Lance Stroll's coming 2027, Logan Sargent 2025 IndyCar. Tune in. But overall, jokes aside, a good race from Logan Sargent. Didn't spin, didn't cause any accidents, finished the race. Did he get lapped? He did not get lapped. He did not get lapped. So, he got lapped, but he wasn't a lap behind. So overall, he'll take it. He'll take it. It's a good weekend for him. Daniel Ricciardo, 13th. Apparently he had some issues with the car. Happens quite often these days for Daniel Ricciardo. I think his mind's already on the Red Bull seat next year. Or not even next year, maybe in a couple races. I think he was watching qualifying and he saw Perez in the gravel. Oh, Honey Badger was smiling. Honey Badger knows that the honey's coming. He knows that if Sergio Perez doesn't pull his act together, it is over. Over. Okay. Curious to see, we hope maybe we'll get Antonelli coming in for the Williams soon. Logan Sargent might get an early vacation. I don't know what to say. I'm curious to see how it plays out. We've been hearing that Antonelli's coming. They changed the rules for Antonelli, and he hasn't even changed. He hasn't even gone into the team yet. So I don't know what point of everybody fighting to change the rules was for. Hello, actually, welcome to the stream. Thank you. Thank you for coming. What did you think of the race? What did you think of Lewis Hamilton's victory, his home race, his home victory? What did you think? Did you even better? What did you think of Charles Leclerc's stunning 14th place finish, and even better of Sergio Perez's stunning 17th place finishes? All-stars in all-star cars. George Russell, I do feel for George Russell, to be honest. It was home race for him. He would have liked a podium. He would have liked to make it 3 Brits on the podium. We had 2 Brits. George Russell didn't get the chance to thank everybody at the factory. And, that's huge. I think every day the Mercedes drivers wake up hoping that they can thank everybody back at the factory. And he didn't get a chance to thank people back at the factory. So, I think he's pretty upset. But Hamilton did manage to thank everybody back at the factory. And, I think that's a prereq. If I were to send my CV to Mercedes, I would say that I know how to thank everybody back at the factory in at least 4 or 5 different ways. Because you can't say it the same every single time. Like how every time Hamilton has an interview after the race, whatever, like when he's on the podium, before he goes on the podium, you ask him a question, but it doesn't really matter what you ask him because he basically has a little monologue afterwards where he thanks the team, where he thanks the family, the fans, how hard he's been working, how hard the team's been working for the last couple years. It's wild, absolutely wild, but I think that's what I put on my CV. Really great first half. Top 5 were separated by 6 seconds, and rain ruins it. Last Silverstone GP for Mercedes, and it is a win. Really great. Yes, it was a great win for Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. Definitely solidified their race in Austria. All jokes aside, I am happy for Lewis Hamilton, and the team truly have done something to that car because it is much quicker than we've seen even at the beginning of the year. The rain was annoying because it'd be better if we had... I liked the changing conditions. I just would have liked to see more of the rain, like a harder rain, so that we got to see some of the drivers actually go on the the intermediate tires before having to switch over back to the slicks. But that shot when both Mercedes just went off when it started raining, I was like, what are you doing? I understand one of them going off, but then the other just follows. That was crazy. And that cost them. I think I mean, okay, you can argue Russell would have been out of the race anyways with the problems, whatever. But that cost them a heap of time. They would have been much better. Much better, much safer win for sure if they didn't make that mistake there. Ferrari back at worst strategies and Lando pulling a Sochi 2021. Yes, Lando looked devastated after the race, but that's also something we've come to see. Basically, is that Lando is not locked in. He just isn't where he needs to be. He's not there yet. Like I keep saying, he is close. He's close, but he doesn't have it yet. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't have it. Piastri doesn't either, but Piastri's showing, like, Piastri can fight Lando Norris, and he's only in his second year, right? Lando's been in the league for a long time, and he isn't there yet to fight Max Verstappen. I'm talking to the next person up, where he can fight his teammate, that's fine, but the next stepping stone. And Ferrari strategies, I don't want to talk about. I was happy when Brian was coming. I thought we had the new saver, the new little messiah along Leclerc, right? We had the great, what's it called? The great win at Monaco. Happy for them. Everything is going well. Then it's been all downhill from there for Charles Leclerc's side of the garage. Disaster Canada. Disaster Barcelona. Disaster Austria. Disaster today. I'm missing one of the disasters, I think. I'm missing one of the disasters. I forget right now. Doesn't really matter. But yes, I agree. If Lando was on mediums, he could have secured P2. I think they had mediums, no? Because they were the ones that said Hamilton only has softs and hards, and he opted for the softs. Verstappen opted for the hards. Now, I personally would have opted for the hards as well in that position. Obviously, I don't think it was the right call. So, again, that's why I'm not a strategist, but a Ferrari strategist is different. A Ferrari strategist is truly different. I would have opted for the hards, but yeah, between the softs and the mediums, why didn't they go for the mediums? Like, did they think they'd just be quicker and outright pace? Because they were nowhere near him, and Max flew by. I mean, he probably saved up some battery, had some ERS as well, but he flew by Norris. I don't remember what lap. I think it was 4 laps to go or 5 laps to go, because I thought we were locked in. We're about to have a battle between the two greats, but that wasn't what ended up happening. In all honesty, I think Hamilton was just too good today. He was just too quick. Lando, unfortunately, didn't have it. Oscar Piastri, in theory, should have won this race because of the double stacking opportunity that they didn't take, which again kind of blows my mind. I joke, but I am happy for Lewis Hamilton. I'm happy when we heard him crying on the radio. It was good to hear. Going around with the flag, it's a good race for him. He's a happy guy, I'm sure, today. And he deserves it. If there's one race he's going to win this year, I'm happy it's Silverstone. Do I think the Perez contract will get terminated? I hope so. I mean, what's the point of having all these clauses and keep hearing that if he doesn't get his performance up, bro, his performance has been down for 3 years. Like, what are we talking about? He hasn't had a race win, I think, since Baku 2023, or when was the last race win he had? He's been nowhere in comparison to Verstappen. And I understood last year Verstappen's just dominant, but this year we have, how many race winners have we had this year? Russell, Norris, Lewis, Charles, Sainz, and Verstappen. We've had 6 race winners this year. No Perez. He hasn't even been competitive. He's dropped down into 6th position. He's 137 points behind his teammate. Like, bro, you cannot be doing that with that car. You can't be doing that with any car, but 137 points behind your teammate. Bro, all right. Like, how? I'm baffled by that. So do I think his contract will get terminated? I hope they terminate it. Don't know if it will. But if I hear them come out and say he has to be performing better, nobody's kicking himself as badly as Perez is, okay, like, I can go in an F1 car and mess it up as well. I can bin at every race. I can bin at every qualifying session. Nobody's giving me a drive. I understand that I don't have the sponsors and all that Perez has, or the talent, don't get me wrong. But the way he's performing right now, Well, I can, there's nothing to it, you know. There's no talent required in consistently messing up. Poor Piastri, they did him dirty. Yeah, Piastri's so under the radar. Like, he didn't even get on the radio and fight. He's so locked in. He's gonna be an absolute menace. No, he's gonna be a menace. I'm sure that he's gonna be a menace on this grid. I'm sure he's gonna be a menace on this grid. So actually, I don't know how much longer this live is gonna go on, but I want to know, who do you think is gonna win the Hungarian Grand Prix and Spa and Spa? Who do you think is gonna get the victories at those two before the break that we have? Stroll, I already said Stroll is world champion 2028 or 2027. I'm calling it right now. Lance Stroll, if asterisk here, if Adrian Newey goes over to Aston Martin, Lance Stroll is a locked-in bet for world champion. 100%. Lance Stroll and Papa Stroll popping open the champagne already. They have secured the victory for that team. Aston Martin World Champions 2027. Maybe 2028. One of those 2 years. You know, that's when it's going to happen. It's when we're going to light it up. Yeah. It's going to be good times. What if they take Perez over to Aston Martin? Perez and Lance Stroll, they'd put in performance. They would lock in every race. I think it won't be even better. What if they get, Sargent's going to IndyCar. He's champion 2025. Do you think Perez or Stroll are gonna win the race? Yes. I don't know. Are you asking me if Perez or Stroll is 137 points less? Perez is 137 points less, so he's killing it. Oh, whom do I prefer? Gosh. Neither. I guess. I don't know. I really don't like either of them. I guess, in theory, Stroll, because he is Canadian, and I have to go with my fellow Canadian. But Perez had some moments. Back in 2021, I was a big Perez fan. I loved his Turkish defense, the Turkish Grand Prix. I loved the Abu Dhabi defense. I loved his Minister of Defense phase. I was all for it. And then he just completely fell off after he purposely banned it in Monaco, and Max went on his villain era. It was completely over for Perez, so he was cut, I think. You know, yeah, they're saying Max had a big part in Perez's ascension, blah, blah, blah. I think Max just likes seeing how dominant he can be against his teammate. So, technically, I think Stroll, because I don't have an issue. Everybody's mad that, you know, Stroll has the seat. But at the end of the day, if I was a dad and my son wanted to compete in Formula 1 and I owned the team, you better damn well believe he's getting the drive. I mean, who else am I going to give it to? Like, what's the point of living and having all this money if I can't give experiences or give something to the people I love that want it? So I have no issue with it to the extent that some other people have. Obviously, I don't think he deserves the seat fully, but I have no issue with the fact that he has the seat, right? And I think that's how everybody should look at it. I mean, everybody would do the same thing in that situation. As a person, I think he's a bit, like, spacey, to put it that way, to not, like, put it in any rude context. He's just a bit spacey. He reminds me of Taylor Lautner, like a bro, like a wolf, but like a dummy wolf. But I don't know, it doesn't matter. He seems like an okay guy, you know. Yeah, he's fine. And Perez, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what Perez is doing. He's definitely not racing. He's not focusing on his racing, that's for sure. But hey, he's back for 2 more years, so he's doing something right. We'll see. I'm curious if Dan Ricciardo gets that seat, you know. I want to see how that works. And what if Dan Ricciardo gets that seat and is automatically, like, finishing in the top 3 every race? They'll be like, man, why didn't we do this sooner? Because Daniel Rick is a great sponsor magnet as well. great marketing machine. We'll see. We do not have a race next week, and I think we do have a week break before the what's next, the Hungarian Grand Prix. In a way, I'm kind of happy that we have a break because it's quite difficult to have a race weekend every weekend. When I had exams going on, I'm done exams now, so I'll have more time for the races. And of course, when I finish exams, there's no more races. So that's life for you, right? Well, they don't get that seat in Red Bull if Perez contracts get same reports say Daniel is first in list if that happens. That's what I've read as well. It's quite possible. I'm always seeing something else. One day it's Ricardo. One day we have Lawson going somewhere. One day we have Haja. I don't know what Red Bull does. I think they just like talking and being in the media and being in the center of attention. In theory, I guess it's Ricardo, but at the end of the day, like, he's not performing better than Yuki, right? And Liam Lawson, what more do they want from him than what they did last year? Of course, I don't think Lawson would get the Red Bull seat. I think it would be one of the, like, Yuki or Daniel. And Lawson would take the other Racing Bull seat. I think it would probably be Daniel because they want to see if he can go back to his old self. So what I would do in this situation, and what I think they will do, if it comes down to it, is they'll can Perez, probably. Maybe Perez goes down to the Racing Bulls, they do the swap like they did with Gasly and Albon. But anyways, they put Daniel Ricciardo into the main Red Bull car for the rest of the year, which is what, half a season. They see if he can become competitive, like if he is still competitive, if he's still dominant or not. And based on this, then they decide for next year. So if he isn't dominant, if he isn't back to 80% of the old Daniel they knew and loved, then he is out of a seat next year, right? Because that's enough. Like, he's not a rookie who, yeah, he'll train, he'll get better. No, like, he's had a career. He's arguably way past his peak. It's either he still has it or he doesn't. I know that sucks, but that is what it is. Then, if Daniel Ricciardo's out, I choose, okay, maybe we let Yuki try one season, because I don't see any outside hire except maybe if they want Carlos Sainz. That would be interesting. That would shake things up. I hope and I think Carlos Sainz needs to make a choice, but maybe he's waiting to see what happens with Red Bull or even Mercedes. Like, I would go one of those two routes. I'm not going to join, I don't know, Williams for a year. Like, what's that going to get me? Or Alpine. Why would I join Alpine for a season? Because we know he's going to Audi. Like, what is the point of acting like that's not going to happen? Because clearly that's where he's going to end up. At least I think it's pretty clear. I may be wrong, but in my opinion, that's the direction we're going in. If that happens, then he has 1 year, max 2. Maybe he'll tell Audi, I want you guys to figure it out 1 year. I want to see how you guys perform. Then I'll come. Fair. So 2 years, let's say. Why would you go to a team that isn't winning or capable of winning? When obviously that's what you would want, right? So, I don't know. After that, I don't think so. After that FP1 incident in Silverstone, I guess time will tell. It's hard to say right now what will happen. He's a good driver. There's a lot of good drivers, and it's a shame, right? There's so many good drivers in F2 as well. Happy for Ollie Behrman, though. That's great news. I loved his race in Jeddah. He was quick. See, why can't Perez do this? You know, this 18-year-old at the time's coming in and performing. He's locking in. And Perez can't even do it after, like, 4 years of prep in the car. You know? It's not okay. It's not okay. Something needs to change. So, I don't know. But I think that's about it for today. I've ranted enough. Unless if you want to start on Ferrari again, which I don't at the time. What I am planning to do this week, there will be a video dropping within the next couple of days. A long form video. It's not going to be a race preview. It's going to be a classic video that I used to do. So make sure to stick out, watch for those ones. Actually, I know you're subscribed, so I'm not going to tell you to subscribe. But anybody else watching this, if you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe so you see that video when it does pop. Maybe, if you guys want, if you're curious, we can do a live stream next weekend. I will definitely plan it in advance to let you know when we're doing it. Some point throughout this week, some point next weekend, I don't know. But that will definitely get posted when it is to happen. And until then, I'll probably be posting shorts every day, every other day. I'm not sure yet. So make sure to watch out for that. Thank you guys for watching. I'm just going to read the last thing, a sheet you wrote here. I think the reason Sainz isn't getting the seat is because they clearly don't want Nico Hamilton kind of situation. Carlos Sainz Sr. and Joss aren't best of buddies. Yes, absolutely a possibility. And, you know, that would be actual competition for Verstappen, which I'm sure he doesn't want at the moment because he's dominating. That would make his life harder. But we'll touch on all of this next week. If you have anything else you want to talk about, you can always send me a message, leave a comment on any of my videos. We can do a live next week. I might actually be having one of my friends as a guest on the channel to discuss Hamilton's victory. He's a huge Hamilton fan. I don't know if he's watching this right now, but you might see him on sometime soon this week. So make sure to subscribe, stay tuned, and hop in for that conversation as well when we're both on here. Thank you guys all for watching. Actually, thank you for the wonderful conversation as always. Until next time, have a great evening. Bye.